This is Chapter 8D combined with Chapter 8E on multiplying and dividing with decimal numbers. So two skills, multiplying by decimal numbers and dividing with and by decimal numbers. So the first skill, multiplying. As you notice here, you have basically similar digits. 1.2 times 4 or 0.12 times 4 or some variation of it down below. Because here's my point. When we're multiplying by decimal numbers, we want to actually take the numbers that we see. So a 12 and a 4. That's pretty clear. Or 40. And just simply multiply it as normal. 12 times 4. That makes 48. Because no matter what, 12 times 4 will make 48. Now, how we figure out the decimal placement is simply by counting. So let's write this down. 12 times 4 we know makes 48. Okay, side note. So let's look. I noticed that there's one number behind a decimal in the first problem. So what I'm simply going to do is take that 48 and put my decimal at the very right and just simply move it in one space because there's only one number behind the decimal. Therefore, my answer for the first problem is 4.8. Now in the second problem, again, 12 times 4 is 48, but let's look. We have this time two numbers behind a decimal. So start with your decimal number at the very end of the right and move it two spots in, 1, 2. So what that means is that this becomes 0.48, and we must put a 0 in the ones place just to make sure we can clearly see that this is a decimal. So following this theme, can you complete C, D, and E? Pause. So let's continue. So I'll start with 48. I'll write 48 for all three of these actually. Then there's 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers behind a decimal in total. So let's move it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Decimal lands here. 0 goes in front. Any gaps we have, we fill in with a 0. So therefore, this answer is 0.0048. In D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 numbers behind a decimal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Decimal lands. 0 goes in front. Fill each gap with 0. 1, 2, 3. Therefore, the answer here is 0.00048. In E, 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers behind the decimal. But actually, in this case, you multiply 12 by 40. So let's change this to 480. So we still have to move 4 numbers behind the decimal. 1, 2, 3, 4. So therefore, the answer here is 0.0480. Or you can say, yes, that 0 in the end doesn't affect it, so it's 0.048. Same thing. Now, when it comes to dividing with and into decimals, so we have two words we need to know. The divisor and the dividend. The dividend is the number we are dividing into. The divisor is the number we are dividing by. Now when it comes to dividing, when you have a divisor, that's a decimal, we want to actually eliminate that decimal. So let's think about it like this. If I were to rewrite this as a fraction, 532 divided by 3.9. Now, we don't usually want decimal numbers when it comes to fractions. So what do? You can basically make an equivalent fraction by multiplying the top and the bottom by 10. So that'll transform this into 5,320 divided by 39. So now that we have a whole number as the divisor, we can divide this. So let's write it out. Using the standard method commonly used in North America. we're going to go ahead and just do our division. 39 fits into 53 one time. So then you subtract 39 and you end up with 14. You bring the 2 down, and 39 fits into 140 3 times. And so that will make 117. And when you subtract, that will be 23. Bring down the final 0. And 39 fits into 230. So I made an error. Let's disregard that. This should be a 2. So then 39 fits into 142 3 times, which still makes 117. So when you subtract, it will give you 250. Bring down the last 0. 39 fits into 250 6 times, because it makes 234. And when you subtract that, basically you will have a remainder of 16. Now I've run out of space here, so I'm going to go ahead and erase this and rewrite this. So what you have to do in this case, since we want to at least round it to one decimal place, is we need 2 numbers behind the decimal, because we need the last decimal right here to help us round the 1 decimal place accurately. So we continue with zeros, 160. So 39 fits into 160 4 times, giving us 156. When we subtract, leaving us with a 4, bring down the last 0. 39 fits into 40 1 time. In this case, we'll get a 1 left over, and it will keep going. But because we want our answer to only 1 decimal place, we need 2 numbers behind the decimal place to round it. So in this case, the answer is 136.41, but if we round it, when we look at this last number, it allows for the 4 to stay where it is. So your answer for the first problem will be 136.4. Now you follow the same technique to continue on with B and C. Now in D, you do have to get rid of the decimal in the divisor, but in the dividend, it's okay to have a decimal place there, because as you notice, when we run out of numbers, we have to add zeros anyway. So it will make no difference. Most important is that you get rid of the decimal here in the divisor. So at this time, pause and continue with B, C, D, E. So if you work with this method correctly, you would have turned this into 3,210 divided by 12, which in the end should give you 267.5 when you divide. If you did this one correctly, this would be 4,350 divided by 43,500 divided by 4, because you have to multiply it by 100 in order to move the decimal out of the way. So if you did this correctly, your answer should have come out as 10,875. In the next problem, you would have rewritten this as 125.1 divided by 3. And when you divide that, you should have had an answer of 41.7. In this last problem, you have to multiply by 1,000, moving it 3 decimal places, so it becomes 0. It would become 23.2 divided by 3, in which when you divide it and you round it, it should give you 7.7 as your answer. And that's all.